What's going on, guys? This is Rob, and if you're enjoying the content here on my channel, then make sure you hit the like button and make sure you hit subscribe so you can help decide what direction the content on my channel goes in the foreseeable future. What's going on, guys? This is Rob, and for the last few weeks with Omega Beyond Omega Level, we've just kind of been goofing off, right? Just kind of like having fun and just sort of messing around and that kind of a thing. We did Batman with Prep Time. We did Pickle Rick. We just kind of goofed off. But for real and for true, the purpose of the Omega Beyond Omega Level series is to take the most powerful characters in existence, whether they're planetary threats or they're universal threats, and explain what it is that makes them so powerful. Now, within the realm of the Omega Level Beyond Omega Level, this was originally a Marvel concept. Marvel were the ones that came along and said Omega Level and Beyond Omega Level, and it was confined to mutants. Eventually it spread to, non-mutants, and it basically just said, here are some of the most powerful beings that have incredible powers that are not mutants, like the Molecule Man or the Incredible Hulk or something like that. And so we just kind of extended that off to the realm of like DC and just kind of use it as an umbrella concept to explain why beings are so powerful in comics and what their abilities are. And so in this video, we are going to be focusing on the character of Storm. Now, because Storm is so popular, I assume that most people watching this have at least a passing knowledge of who she is, if you're familiar with the X-Men or Marvel Comics at all. But just in case someone with no prior knowledge of comic books has decided to click on this video, we're going to do as we always do in this series and briefly run over Storm's origin and history before we dive into our discussion on her powers. So Storm was created by the late and great Len Wein, as well as Dave Cockrum, and made her debut in Giant Size X-Men issue number 1 in 1975, where she was among a new group of mutants introduced to the X-Men lineup in hopes of improving sales on the struggling X-Men title. A little bit of a fun fact and a little bit of a history here for a lot of people who don't know, the X-Men are mainstays, right? Like people are like, I know who the X-Men are. The X-Men are really popular. There was a time where they weren't, and there was actually a time where Marvel canceled their publication and just issued reprints. That was because of the fact that people didn't really like the Stan Lee, Jack Kirby, Roy Thomas era of the X-Men. It wasn't until Chris Claremont wrote them in the mid-1970s running up to 1991 that people loved the X-Men because we got the Phoenix Saga and the Dark Phoenix Saga and characters like Wolverine and so on and so forth. But what Giant Size X-Men number 1 set out to do was introduce a more modern, diverse set of mutants from different parts of the world in hopes of increasing sales. And this is where a lot of the most recognizable X-Men joined the team: Nightcrawler, Colossus, and of course, Storm. Now, as for Storm's origin, she is the daughter of a Kenyan princess and a sorceress named Nadir, who fell in love with an American photographer named David Monroe. Now, they got married, moved to Harlem, New York, and had a daughter named Aurora before moving back to Egypt when Aurora was extremely young. When Storm was 6 years old, her parents were killed in an aircraft attack during the Suez Crisis, which was actually a real-life invasion of Egypt by Israel in 1956. But living on the streets of Cairo as an orphan, Storm became a skilled pickpocket, and she remained there until the age of 12 when she set out to the Serengeti to live in isolation. And it was there that Storm first manifested her mutant powers, where she was found by Charles Xavier, who recruited her to join the X-Men, where she would adopt the moniker of Storm. Now, another little bit of fun history here. This was not the first time Storm encountered Charles Xavier. In fact, he had actually been pickpocketed by Storm in one of the early stories involving his character. In truth, it was actually the origin of the X-Men in terms of why Charles Xavier made him. I cannot remember them off the top of my head. I can't remember what issue it was, but it involved the Shadow King, this just being who was pure psychic energy and crazy powerful. But Charles Xavier ended up encountering like this evil psychic persona, which was actually a guy named Amal Farouk, who was basically the Shadow King in disguise. And they engaged in this sort of psychic battle. Charles Xavier ended up winning, and then because of that realized that with there being characters out there like the Shadow King, there had to be someone who could basically stand in the way of bad guys and defeat bad mutants. And that's where the X-Men came from. So it's actually kind of a cool little bit of history there. As far as Storm's mutant powers go, simply put, she can control the weather with her mind. Typically, this manifests itself when we see Storm create lightning or strong winds, but her powers actually extend to all facets of weather. Storm is able to manipulate the temperature, control moisture at a molecular level, meaning she can manipulate precipitation. As previously stated, Storm can produce lightning, cause changes in atmospheric pressure, and create a variety of meteorological storms, including tornadoes, hurricanes, snowstorms, and thunderstorms thunderstorms, and she can harness her command of the wind to allow herself to fly. But Storm's powers do not simply just end with controlling the weather, as she can also use her powers pretty effectively against her opponents. In addition to using lightning to attack enemies, she can use her temperature control to freeze them, and her ability to change barometric pressure to increase the pressure within her opponent's inner ear, causing them severe physical pain. Furthermore, her wind abilities allow her to remove all the air in her opponent's lungs. Now, Storm's ability to control elemental forces to such a high degree comes from her ability to perceive all the planetary forces at work in our atmosphere, including the electromagnetic field, the ozone layer, moisture, temperature, air, and electricity. Storm is able to create and control basically every meteorological phenomena that can be conceived on a scale as small as her immediate surroundings or as wide-reaching as the entire planet, and she can even manipulate ocean currents. Furthermore, Storm's abilities are not limited to the atmosphere of Earth, but allow her to control the weather on any planet, and she can even control solar winds and cosmic storms. Now, in terms of the upper limits of her powers, while we almost certainly have never seen Storm do everything that she's capable of, we have nevertheless seen her perform some pretty ridiculous feats. For example, Storm once produced a storm so powerful that Psylocke, one of the most powerful telepaths in existence, likens it to the storm that sculpted the face of the planet when it was young. During the same storm, Aurora states that everyone in her vicinity could be flash frozen in a matter of seconds, and Psylocke compares the temperature to that of deep space. On a separate occasion, Storm remarks that as she creates winds strong enough to hold back a tsunami, that she's actually holding back 1,000,000 tons of water, which gives us at least some idea of how powerful she is. Now, on the whole, when referencing Omega level mutants in Marvel Comics, we usually don't have to speculate as to whether or not they're Omega level, because 9 times out of 10, it's referenced in the comics. But with Storm, it's not so clear-cut. In Black Panther issue number 21, a Sentinel refers to Storm, who's married to Black Panther and helping rule Wakanda at the time, as a possible Omega level mutant. And then in issue number 9 of Jonathan Hickman's New Avengers run, leading up to the collapse of the multiverse in Secret Wars in 2015, we see some more possible evidence of Storm's Omega level status when Supergiant, one of the members of Thanos' Black Order, remarks that the only real concern as the Black Order is attacking the Jean Grey School of Higher Learning are the Omega level mutants, which is followed by a panel showing Storm, Iceman, and Rachel Gray. Some have taken this moment from Supergiant as well as Black Panther number 21 to basically confirm that Storm is Omega level, but Supergiant never calls out Storm by name. So while it's possible he was including her in this statement, we can't tell for sure based on some vague declaration. Now, the other half of this is that usually whenever they say Omega level mutants are a real threat, and then we see a panel of mutants, that basically means those mutants are confirmed to be Omega level. The problem is it creates kind of a weird scenario, because if we say a character is Omega level, which is to say capable of destroying all life on Earth, usually they have to be stated as they are Omega level. It's someone talking about someone else. You know, oh man, you guys remember X-Man Nate Gray? Yeah, he's Omega level. I mean, that's usually what ends up happening in the comics, is someone explicitly states that person. That's why you end up getting debates in the comic book community, different things like that. Now, as far as I'm aware, there is no confirmation with someone saying Storm is an Omega level mutant, at least that I haven't been able to find. So if it does exist out there, feel free to link it down. But nonetheless, you know, using some measure of common sense reasoning, again, we can basically just sort of say that there's a pretty compelling argument that Storm should be considered Omega level. I mean, as we said before, an Omega level mutant is one that has the ability to become a planetary threat, with beyond Omega level being someone that is a universal or multiversal threat. And so using that criteria, I think it's fairly obvious that Storm is deserving of the Omega level classification. I mean, if you think about the fact that she can control the very forces of nature and create storms large enough to cover entire continents, then we can basically deduce pretty easily that she's able to destroy all life on Earth, either directly or by drastically altering the entire Earth's climate and ecosystems, making life completely unsustainable. But nonetheless, let me know what you guys think down in the comments section, because again, you know, while some people will say she's potentially Omega level, I would say Storm is an Omega level mutant. I would throw it out there, not officially confirmed, but I would say it's pretty much confirmed. We're just kind of waiting on someone to verify that it's true in the realm of Marvel Comics. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments section. Also, do not forget, if you are new here to Comics Explained, make sure you hit the sub button to become part of the Rob Corps. If you guys enjoy this video, make sure you drop a like and leave a comment. Let me know what character you guys want me to cover next. If there's somebody in particular you want me to take a look at, I guess we could do Superman, but I kind of feel, I mean, it's Superman. I don't know why it would really serve a purpose to, you know, Omega beyond Omega level Superman. But there's a lot of other characters who are out there that we could definitely cover in this series. Galactus, the Incredible Hulk, different things like that. So let me know what you guys guys think down in the comment section, and I will catch you all later. Peace.